friends. Please be nice to John Legend. Thank you, sir. See you again, man. Pleasure. Glad to see you again. Thanks for coming on the show.
It's good to be back.
It's nice to have you. This is it's a big movie, right? Waiting for Superman's a big movie because, political or not political, if you have a kid or knew a kid or were a kid at one point, the education system...
That just about includes everybody.
Everybody. The education system is huge.
The education system is such a fundamental part of society. It's a fundamental building block for a better community and a better society. And so getting that right is really, I think, the most critical thing we can do to make sure our country and our world are better.
The idea of dropout factories.
Yes.
High schools that are, or even, primary schools where you just know that they're going to train the next generation of kids to drop out.
Yeah.
You actually went to one. Did you know?
I did not know I was going to a dropout factory, but for some reason, we started with 500 kids in my class and ended up with 220 or something in my graduating class from 9th to 12th grade. And I didn't even think about it at the time that all these kids were dropping out, because I was in the advanced classes. So my friends or my peers in my classes were all the ones that were probably going to go to a 4-year college and do well and whatever. But I didn't realize that half of my class was just disappearing.
And that goes in, that half has to try to go make a living in a culture that does not support people who don't have that system.
Yeah, we're losing so many of our kids. They drop out, and then they enter a job market that's not friendly to them, and then they have to turn to crime. They turn to other means to try to make money, and it continues to create this cycle of poverty and disenfranchisement and disillusionment, and continues on and on and on, because usually the poorer you are, you're going to live in a neighborhood where the schools are worse, and your kids are just going to end up, the same way.
For you, I mean, the universe has to smile on you. You have to have talent and all that, but you also have to have an element of luck. You were able to get into the advanced program.
Well, the problem that the film actually talks about is it shouldn't depend so much on luck.
Yeah. But it does.
in the film, kids have to enter a lottery just to get into the best school in their neighborhood, because the other schools are so bad that all these other parents all want their kids to go to the best school in the neighborhood. They don't have enough slots in the schools to send all these kids. Mm-hmm. And so the only way for us to fairly determine who can get in them is to randomly select from a hat.
Yeah, 500 kids will apply and only 22 spots will be in.
Yeah, and the odds are awful. And that's what makes the film so interesting and powerful, is that you see these kids that could be your kid or your neighbor or your niece or nephew, could have been you. Mm-hmm. You see them and you realize it's not their fault. A lot of times I think the mentality is you blame the victim, you blame the poor, you blame people who've had a rough deck of cards handed to them. But these kids, you can tell they want to succeed. You can tell they have something in them, but it needs to be cultivated. And that's why I wrote the song. The song is called Shine, and the whole point of the song is there's all these kids with potential, but they're not just going to blossom on their own. They need the adults around them to give them a shot. And right now, our system doesn't give a lot of our kids a shot.
The idea of that song, what I find really interesting, especially because of the work you've done with the Roots recently, is I love R&B songs that are about love. I do.
Yes, I write a lot of them.
But the best ones, the ones that carry the most weight long term, are the ones that are about what's going on.
Yes.
And
Marvin Gaye, of course.
Marvin Gaye, for sure, or Otis, or Sam Cooke. Changes
Stevie Wonder,
right?
Nina Simone. These are some of my favorite artists. Yeah.
Was it Mississippi Goddamn is one of the best songs anybody.
I love it. We covered I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free, which is another Nina Simone song. But the album actually, I started working on that with the Roots in 2008. And, we were inspired in some part by the election, but in general by a sense that we wanted to put a musical stamp on what was going on in our culture as far as people's hunger for change, people's frustration with the status quo, and wanting to make the world better. And so we looked back at a different era when that was happening and did a cover album of songs from the 60s and 70s, a time when the civil rights movement was at its peak, a time when the women's rights movement was very important, a time when the anti-Vietnam War movement was important. And so a lot of musicians were making songs that were very much related to what was going on in their communities and around the globe. And we thought it would be cool to look back at that time and do a new interpretation of those songs for our generation.
You've played a lot of shows. When you're on stage and you're singing, is it autopilot or are you thinking about the words? And the reason I ask you that is because when you sing a song like Shine live or sing a love song live, now I know they mean very different things, but you recognize that you're putting the audience, you're asking the audience to think of different things. How does it feel like when you're singing a song that you know is about something bigger than yourself?
Well, either way, if it's a love song, first of all, I think a lot of people feel like love songs are really important.
Oh, they're very important.
Their relationships help define them. Their interactions with other human beings and how they feel with each other really help define who they are. And so when I'm singing love songs to people in an audience, I'm trying to connect with them and communicate with them and give them a powerful experience. And when I'm singing songs that are about kind of more global and political issues, I'm doing the same thing. I'm trying to inspire them to think. I'm trying to make them feel something. I'm trying to communicate with them. And so no matter what the song is, I try to do it thinking about the lyric, thinking about the crowd and looking in their eyes and really trying to communicate and connect with them.
Well, the last 2 times you were on the show, George Bush was the president. This time, Obama's been the president for some
about
time.
a year and a half, yeah.
Exactly. And you remember that, obviously, that election night, the emotion that, change was going to come.
It was an exciting time, I think, because America was excited by the idea that we've always had that America was a fair place where anybody could succeed. But up to this point, we've never had a woman be elected to head the country. We've never had anyone who wasn't white and male be elected president of the country.
But a year and a half later.
But a year and a half later, people in general are in a state of frustration and general malaise in the country. And so they blame the nearest target.
Yeah.
And he's in charge. He came in on the chariot and said he was going to save the country, even though he was realistic in his speeches, but the perception around him was that he was the Messiah, And so I think people expected him to fix everything right away, and they're frustrated, and reasonably so, because it is reasonable to be frustrated when either you're out of work, or your neighbor's out of work, or your family member's out of work, and you're struggling to pay the bills. I can understand why people are frustrated, but then you have to turn that frustration into, what's the logical next action. Right. A lot of times I think they blame him because he's in office, rather than looking at the root of the problem.
But at those Tea Party rallies, and I know that they have moments where they swell and then they're smaller, there's a weird rise in racism that's popping back up again in a way, and I know it's always been there.
Yeah, there's some things that people say and some of the signs that people have up that are really nasty, and they're really, I think, fed by ignorance and fear, and I don't think that's the majority of America, but it's a significant enough minority that is something we should be concerned about. And I think some people thought that when we elect a black president, and it was also biracial, so his mother was white, his father was black. It's kind of like this reconciliatory moment.
And from Hawaii, so.
Yeah, he's from Hawaii, so he's practically foreign anyway. No. Just playing.
People in Hawaii, Magnum PI just went, I'm a that's what happened.
No, but my point being, people thought this was a healing moment. And what's happened is, yes, it was a beautiful moment in history and something I wanted to happen, but it's also made some people scared and heightened their fear. So you have this kind of dual thing going on. Some people are really proud, some people are excited, and some people are more afraid than ever that their country is being taken away from them by an outsider. And you'll see it in some of the language. They'll say, we need to take our country back. Yeah, what is that? From whom? Yeah. And I think the great thing about America is that it's diverse, that its claim and its creed is to welcome people from all around the world and give them equal treatment, no matter what their religion is, no matter what color their skin is, no matter if they have a disability, no matter what it is. You can come to America and you can be a success. Now, that's the promise of America. We just have to make sure we realize and actualize that promise in the way we govern and the way we live. And so that's part of the mission of this album as well. Wake Up is really about saying, this is what you say you're about, Now put it into action. Make it real.
All right, John, as a guy who's been in music for a long time, why aren't there more African-American death metal bands?
You know, it just never caught on. It's just not our thing.
How about this? You can save a busload of children from plunging into an icy river, but in order to do it, you must give up your beautiful singing voice. Do you do it?
Oh, man, I guess so. I guess I have to. At least I have to say I will on television.
Okay. but here's a caveat. What if they're worthless children who give nothing to society?
I don't believe that there are worthless children.
Correct answer.
Now,
what's
I can think of some adults I would like to get rid of.
What's your favorite guilty pleasure song? You're driving down the street in your nice shiny car, you're just going down and you're singing a song, and then you realize that your windows are down and everybody knows you're singing it, and you have to go bzzz. What's the song that scares you?
Well, I'm not ashamed of any music.
We say that, but we don't mean it. You're
I'm not ashamed.
You're not singing Creed driving down the street, are you?
Well, I don't. That's not my thing. If I liked it, I wouldn't be ashamed to say I liked it.
All right.
Like Soulja Boy, when I heard "Hop up out of bed, turn my swag on."
All right.
I get excited.
I hear you.
I'm ready to go.
What's the dumbest thing you ever believed?
The dumbest thing I ever believed, that we couldn't fix our schools.
Oh,
yeah.
There you go. The film
We
is
can
called,
fix 'em.
Sure can. Waiting for Superman is the film, and John's got a brand new record as well called Wake Up. John Legend, everybody. Great to see you. Thanks for coming. SeanMo.com is the website. See you next time.